I'm Chris Meers, Orlando Fly Casting Lessons, full-time fly casting instructor and fishing guide down here in Florida. I'm going to tell you today some of the differences between fly fishing in a river and stream as opposed to a lake or a pond. Maybe you're moving from one to the other, or you don't even have rivers and streams where you live and you want to get into fly fishing. These are a few of the major differences you are going to have to consider as you start your fly fishing journey. The number one difference between fishing rivers and streams and fishing in your ponds and lakes is you are going to be needing to move that fly because we're fishing still water. So instead of putting the fly in the water and the current will drift it along, we are going to need to do that. And how we do that is by pulling on the line below your index finger. So whenever this fly line is in the water and I am fishing, that line is underneath my index finger. I put it underneath that finger the second that fly touches the water, and I'm stripping line from below that finger, never reaching above and trying to keep sticking it back under my finger. I'm always pulling from below my finger. That's the number one difference. Depending on what kind of fly we're using, you may strip fast, you may just crawl it along, you may do it erratically, you may do it steady. That's up to you, just as it would be with various types of standard fishing lures. You need to give that fly life, and depending on the species you're targeting and the type of fly that you're using. Difference number two in many of the lakes and pond fishing situations as opposed to a considerable amount of smaller rivers and streams is the distance you're going to need to cast. If I only can cast 20-30 feet, I'm really not covering very much water in my lake or pond. If I could cast 50 to 70 feet, I'm certainly going to have the opportunity to bring that fly past many more fish. So it is a little bit different casting style because I'm trying to reach those distances. If I can get out very long distances, I can reach those fish that I would need if I am fishing off the shore, which most of the time in ponds and lakes, we're going to be fishing the shore. Certainly you could be in a small boat or a paddle craft of some type, but if we're fishing on the shore, we've got to be able to make longer casts. I have tons of videos on how to create nice tight loops in your fly casting that will help you reach those distances very easily. A third difference between rivers and streams and lakes and ponds can often be the manner in which we set the hook, because we're often using much larger and heavier gauge wire hooks than you would be in your typical trout stream. And in trout fishing, you're often just lifting the rod to set the hook. Very light leaders, very soft tip rods, small hooks, they go in easily. If you're bass fishing, for example, with a popper or a big streamer, you are going to need to do something much more significant than simply lifting that rod. And to do that, we will use a strip set technique where I'm pointing this rod right down the line. I get a bite and I'm pulling hand to hook. So my line is still under this finger, but when I get that bite, I give it one more pull in towards me. And at that point, the fish is going to take off. So I would let them go, maintaining control of the line with my non-casting hand, or they're going to be coming at me where I could strip them in or begin to reel them in. We don't want to, in those situations, get your rod at an angle to the fly line, so that if I could strip it in this way, if I do get a bite, now my tip is involved in that hook set. Soft tips of fly rods do not do well on setting larger hooks. So I'm always pointing that rod down towards my line. And even if you're fishing for bluegills or other small freshwater species, I prefer to keep that pointed towards there, and then I could lift up with small hooks. I can strip set with larger hooks. When we're fishing lakes and ponds, we may be wanting to target structures such as lily pads, trees in the water, shoreline structure, etc. If we're going to do that, and you may want to do that or need to do that in some of your river and stream fishing as well. So if you do both, this will certainly apply to both of those things, and that is accuracy. And if we want to be able to lay this fly up near structure without constantly being caught in it, a narrow loop cast that unrolls from high to low and lands exactly where we want is going to be important. If I make wide loop casts and that fly comes from way up over my head and just kind of flutters on down wherever, it's going to be nearly impossible, certainly with any degree of consistency, to put it near structure or other areas that you want to target. So putting a cast that goes high in the back, low in the front, will unroll exactly where it is you want it to land. So those are just a few of the main differences between fishing in a lake and a pond and fishing in a river or a stream. If you want to find out more about casting, I have tons of fly casting videos. If you're going to be in the Orlando area, you can come and see me for a one-on-one fly casting tutorial and lesson.